The return of Jack Ryan in the third installment in Tom Clancy's hit series gave us a whole new season filled with the titular character's misadventures, and the show isn't showing any signs of slowing down on the highlight reel-worthy sequences. But so far, our favorite has been the classical game of chicken with a hand grenade. What do you do when you're cornered by an armed man without any weapon to protect yourself with? Give up? Come on, that's a coward's way out. Fight back? Settle down, kid. This isn't John Wick. What you should do, just like what Jack does in the first episode of the debut season, is to pull the pin on a grenade and dare your attacker to shoot you. Let him cook. That grenade in his hand, I mean. Still, it's always fun watching the protagonist outsmart the enemy using real-world tactics, rather than hide behind the thinly veiled protection of plot armor. This is one of the things that sets Jack Ryan apart from every other popular one-man army action flicks, as the hero knows that he's not going to be entering a terrorist lair unarmed and taking out every enemy inside with overly choreographed fight scenes. Speaking of stunt choreography though, it's still nice to see some flashy moves every now and then, which is why the chase scene in the very next episode also makes it onto my list.
Downstairs, go!
Jack chasing Al bin Sulayman through apartment buildings and the streets of France, all the while explosions are ringing around the two, has definitely got to be some of the best chase sequences in the series, despite how short it was compared to some of the others. We got to see some flashy moves from both sides, with Ali hanging off a railing and jumping through a lower floor window to outmaneuver Jack, and the latter chasing him with surgical precision, identifying him from the middle of an escaping crowd of hundreds like a hawk scouring for prey. The chase continues later on in the season as well, but this time at a gas station where the two play a deadly game of hide and seek around a bunch of parked cars, all the while using bullets to liven up the odds. Don't try to butt in with their game either, just like the two randos who tried to get to Ali before Jack did, and ended up with a lot more unwanted iron in their bodies than a regular adult human needs. Give this man a Where's Waldo volume, and he'll hand it back to you before you can say Inshallah. Which ties in with the next iconic moment from the series, the Subway Surfers. Looks like our protagonist just can't help but find himself in gunfights in unorthodox locations. And in the 6th episode of the first season, titled Inshallah. See what I did there? Jack squares off against two armed opponents inside a subway tunnel, with practically nothing to hide behind, and a long straight tunnel where both you and your enemies can clearly see where you are at all times. Things got tense to say the least. But wait, it gets worse, as just when things couldn't get any worse, the show remembers what a subway tunnel is used for, sending a train hurling down the track towards the three shooters, which ends up squashing one of the unfortunate souls targeting Jack. Still a better fate than what would have happened if the titular super agent had gotten to him first. However, it still wouldn't be as bad as getting blown up by a rocket launcher now, would it? Which is exactly what happened to the smug group of villains who decided to roll up on Jack and Mickey in an armored vehicle, raining machine gun fire on the dynamic duo. The second season of the show, while the two appeared to be outmatched at the beginning, with even Jack failing to stop the tank from drawing near, Mikey brings out his bag of goodies and pulls out a good old-fashioned bazooka and blows their pursuers to high heavens. Talk about an explosive exit. Lesson of the day? Don't mess with Mikey. But it's not just the middle-aged CIA man who you need to worry about. As Jack's mentor, James Greer is just as lethal as his two compatriots. I mean, who else do you know who can escape a max security military holding facility using a fork, while Jack and the rest of the crew break in using an attack helicopter, fully decked out with enough gear to fight a small war? James is breaking out with nothing but kitchen utensils and his immaculate swagger. Looks like the guy doesn't need a rescue crew. Hell, had they waited another hour or so, he probably would have blown up the whole facility and shown up to meet the team himself. Speaking of blowing things up, Jack and hand grenades seem to have quite the bond, as the trooper can always rely on a hand war crime toy to help him get out of a tough spot, like the time when he's trying to get past 4 armed soldiers near the end of the second season. Although he thought he could make quick work of the group by taking them by surprise, his plan is quickly foiled as his AR decides to run out of ammo just as he unleashed a short burst of fire. With no more backup ammunition left, the only thing that Jack has left to fight back with is a grenade safely tucked behind his bulletproof vest. You know when they say, when all else fails, just blow 'em up. America! America! Moving on though. Are any of you in the market for a new car? If not, then boy do I have a sight for you, which just so happens to be the next entry in this video as well. Jim's Muscle Car Garage. Putting aside the obvious reference to The Office, for all of you who are still wondering how Mike knew to come and get Jack in the 3rd season of the show, as Jack is attempting to outrun the CIA, you just need to recall the name Jim's Muscle Car Garage. Earlier in the episode, we see Jack browsing a website by that name quite a few multiple times, each time inquiring about buying a Camaro. Although it was never explicitly revealed that Jack was talking with Mike, the latter confirmed it after he picked Jack up, saying that he wasn't really in the market for a Camaro. Good old Mike always comes in the nick of time. But if you're not a fan of muscle cars, then may I recommend a, drumroll please, Toyota? Of course, Mikey doesn't hold a monopoly when it comes to helping Jack in his escapades against the CIA, giving us a chance to be reintroduced to the ever-charming Tony Ahmed Demir and his love for a specific brand of vehicle, although he and Jack never managed to get along. What with Tony running a brothel with a side hustle and human trafficking, the two were still able to work together, especially in the 3rd season where he lets Jack hide out inside of his garage. He even allows him to take one of the cars when he leaves, a Toyota. Dedicated fans may remember this as a reference to the 1st season, where Tony tells Jack about how all the Dias drive the brand due to its reliability. So it came as no surprise that he gifted Jack a Toyota before sending him on his way. It might not have been an action-packed scene like the others on this list, but it was a definite treat for dedicated fans left in by the directors. Maybe in another life, Tony could have been a successful car salesman, because he sure got me convinced, even in this economy. But hey, that's all the best moments in the Jack Ryan series that I've got for you today, and I hope to see you in the next video.
2 of us just sat there, drinking some beers. When our people go overseas, ambassadors or State Department officials, they need...
Essouffle du juste. Par la mort.
He knew what was going to happen. And he knew where.
The director's gonna need a presidential finding, but you just proceed as if you've got one, okay? This meeting's over.
Thank you, sir.
The target was misidentified.
Wait, whoa. Misidentified?
Of all you need, and I'll make sure you get it.
The drone program needs bodies. I'm supposed to be a pilot.